Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela, everybody. Okay, the main computer's acting a little weird, so I'm going to watch my secondary screen, so I apologize. It'll look like I'm not looking at you when I do that because the screen is off to the side. You guys talking about CERN? Yes, for me, CERN happened around the 90s, maybe. It was not the 50s. It was created for the collider, drawn collider for me originally with an L, and now it's turned to Hadron Super Collider later. CERN for me was not involved in the creation of the World Wide Web. I had seen that history many times, and there was never CERN had anything to do with it. It was just the military plus it was some kind of school university deal, and there was no CERN. So yeah, CERN for some of us is an Emmy, definitely. I'm late. Yeah, I know. If I wasn't like 3 minutes late, then you guys would think that it wasn't me, right? All right, here we go. I'm going to slip in some non-Mandela stuff because a little slow this week. And I have to admit, I'm totally not ready. That one comes later. All right, I'm just going to go down my list because otherwise I'll get all confused. All right, so let's just start with this one. This one is the creepiest one I saw this week. Okay, so I don't know. I probably should have looked it up. We've had that males can produce milk. And that's been the last few years. So now apparently babies can produce milk. So they're saying that, from the man boobs kind of deal, boy or girl, they can produce milk, and they said it's 5% of babies approximately will produce milk up to like a few months. So they're saying that it's because of leftover hormones from the mother. And so, and then they're like, oh, if you actually express the milk from the baby, then that'll prolong the milk delivery from these babies. So maybe you shouldn't. But I don't get how, if it's hormone related, that would do that. It's really gross. So they're calling it witch's milk. Another place called it galactorrhea. A wiki called it that. But then when I really looked at galactorrhea, they said it was something else, which was also kind of creepy, which I'll get to. The term witch's milk can seem scary. We don't like it, and we'll stop using it here. Have you ever heard of witch's milk at all? I've certainly never had it, not to mention 5% of babies. Both male and female babies can experience neonatal galactorrhea. Okay, there's a new word. Neonatal galactorrhea. It's more common in full-term infants than preterm babies. But in one study from the 1980s, around 5% of newborns had neonatal galactorrhea. Hopefully I'm saying that word right. Neonatal galactorrhea typically goes away by 2 months of age. So what, for 2 freaking months, they're discharging milk? Should be temporary and resolve on its own. It's typically one-sided, spontaneous, and persistent. Anyway, that's just creepy. So they're calling it, the cause is transplacental maternal hormone. Your baby is in the placenta, and high levels of maternal estrogen pass into their bloodstream. High levels of estrogen in breast milk after your baby is born can also contribute. Anyway, I don't know. Have you ever heard of that? Because I sure haven't. Okay, I should have looked this up earlier. I'm really kind of slacking. I did all this like 2 days ago, and then I thought of all this stuff later. So if I remember correctly, if you have the one hormone than you could under certain circumstances. Here we go. Yes, under certain. Has been observed in domesticated animals. Human biology also makes it possible. Oh, prolactin. That's the magic word. If you have a surge of prolactin, supposedly that can happen. Liver cirrhosis can cause lactation by disrupting the organ's normal hormone metabolizing function. Health issues that affect the pituitary gland or hypothalamus, which normally inhibit the release of prolactin, can also cause male milk production. A 2010 study published by the Canadian Medical Association Journal documented lactation in men with a pituitary tumor. So yes, it is coming. So we had men, sorry, not babies, men. I must be in a snarky mood today. First it was men, very rare. Now it's babies, 5%, and babies, male or female, for several months. Usually ends by 2 months, which means it doesn't always. Even the fact that the cutoff is 2 months out is kind of creepy. All right, and then let me look at this last one. So the wiki. So this is another one I dispute as a female. Galactorrhea, when it's not neonatal galactorrhea, is when like milk just comes out of women and has nothing to do with pregnancy or childbirth. Like you don't have a baby, you're not pregnant, just normal life. Supposedly sometimes milk just comes out. Okay, I mean it's not totally strange, but this is what's strange. Is reported to occur in 5 to 32% of women. Much of the differences reported can be attributed to different definitions of galactorrhea. Although frequently benign, it may be caused by serious underlying conditions and should be investigated. Okay, so 5 to 32% of women. It seems a little high. I have never heard of anyone reporting such a thing, and obviously I know a lot of females. I mean, I guess you could always argue that they wouldn't tell me because it's creepy, but still, this seems really high. And so I'm assuming then this 32% might be like just a little bit comes out, and it's not a big deal, but even so, that's freaking creepy. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm just overreacting, but I don't know. It just seems like there's a kind of a trend here. The baby one and the man one is creepy. Weird realm. I've heard of it before, but it was so widespread and was known as an illness. But I assume you mean it wasn't so widespread. Yeah. So, I mean, when did I first hear of that? Maybe like 4 years ago for the men. I've never heard of it for the babies. Freaking never heard of it for the babies. And I've never heard of women just having that. I mean, I could see it if it was like really rare or something, but they're saying like 50% of the time there's no cause discovered for why a woman would have that happen. So they were saying it just happens, basically. And 32%, so what, 15% of us just have that and no known reason? I mean, there's no hormonal imbalance found or nothing. Okay. I don't think so. But, all right, let's go on to a less creepy one. This one is from Shari D. Thank you, Shari. So she saw this on Yahoo. Okay, so basically they found this big fat fish and they described it on Yahoo. And they said it was only 100 pounds. I'm not even going to look for the original one because it really doesn't matter. The point is it's these things. Opa. So does this look a little familiar? It looks a lot like those what do you call those things? They look like mola. So this is a mola. Mola were the first to show up. And they weren't as creepy when they first showed up, but... So basically a really big flat fish without much tail. So the mola are more weird. These are the mola. And when they first came out, they had more tail, and they were a little bit less weird, and they were smaller, and they got bigger and bigger. So now these mola are like freaking huge. All right, so we got this thing that has almost no tail, and it just looks so wrong. It looked like it got bit in half or something, and it's huge. What was that, like 3-4 years ago maybe showed up? Okay, so mola, and now we have opa. So it's a little like a cheeky version of a mola. And I have not, I'm trying to think if I've seen those long ago. If they showed, if it's either this is the first time or they're very recent. I might have seen these for a bit and thought that they were opa, but you can see that they have a little bitty tail and they look like really cheeky. But otherwise they're flat and they don't have much tail, and they also get to, I wrote it down, 6 to 7 feet and 600 pounds. So these are kind of small ones here. Now, interestingly, I'm not really finding images of them being that big, and the one that they said washed up on shore was like a 100-pounder. So, but yes, they can get huge. Okay, here's what's interesting about these. We have looked this up before, and there was no 100% warm-blooded fish last time I looked. They said that some fish were partially warm-blooded. Okay, but now we have 100% warm-blooded fish. Opa. And they're calling these moonfish and sunfish. See, those words sound familiar, moonfish and sunfish, but I was thinking that it was the mola. These guys that were the moonfish and sunfish. So I'm thinking, I'm not 100% on this, but I'm wondering if that was moonfish and sunfish, and now the term has been scooted over. I really thought sunfish was these. So moonfish and sunfish, I think that term has now been scooted over to be for these opa. Opa kind of sounds like mola, and they look kind of similar. All right, so where do they go? Okay, so they're calling it endothermy. In 2015, these guys, Lamprey guttatus, was discovered to have near whole body endothermy, in which the entire core of the body is maintained at around 5 degrees C above the surrounding water. This is unique among fish, as most fish are entirely cold-blooded or are capable of warming only some parts of their body. So last time I looked this up for fish, there was not like a full warm-blooded one. But now a lot of places that I looked are saying that they're the only fish that are entirely warm-blooded. You can see that they've kind of made it more complicated. There's not just warm-blooded or cold-blooded anymore. There's like all these different versions. So these opa are warm-blooded, they're saying now. Opa closely resemble in shape the unrelated butterfish. I'm going to have to check that out. No, that doesn't really look like a butterfish to me. Opa is the only fish currently known to exhibit whole body endothermy, where all the internal organs are kept at higher temperature than the surrounding water. This allows opas to maintain an active lifestyle in the cold waters they inhabit. Okay, so they're saying, unlike birds and animals, it's not a homeotherm, despite being an endotherm. It still varies somewhat with the external temperature is the difference now. But this is a new jump up, so it's almost the same as warm-blooded. And a lot of places are just saying it's warm-blooded. This one isn't, but I did realize that it's the only fish that's warm-blooded. Anyway, this fish was not on the map last time I looked. I did see tuna, sharks. I don't remember billfishes, but I do remember tuna and sharks being the partial warm-blooded ones of last time. So that's another reason why I think opa's new, because I don't remember it being on the list of warm-blooded fishes, and it is now the most warm-blooded of fishes. Have you seen the sheep's head fish? Yeah, that's the one with all the human-looking teeth. First there was just one row, then there was a whole bunch of rows. Totally creepy. That's a kind of older ME for me, but yes, an oldie but goodie. I've only heard of moon bear and sun bear. When did the moonfish, sunfish come in? Yeah, you know, I think they kind of use terms that sound a little familiar. So you're like, I think I heard that before. So it's easier to like slide these things in. I read in the magazines in the 70s and 80s about the CERN and how they were going to build it. It was the only one those days. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's that guy. All right, since it's kind of a slow kind of week, I want to slide in some just weird stuff that this is Mandela related because I really just don't remember the ISS existing until like 4 or 5 years ago, especially these ISS videos. And looking back at all the old flights and videos, they all look really different. But I was really shocked at the ISS. I do remember it ISS being around longer than that, but I don't remember there being any videos. In fact, I used to think it was weird. I'm like, what are they too freaking stingy to put a freaking camera in the ISS? We're paying all this money, and all we would get is a few little short videos once in a blue moon. But now we have this live business. Okay. But what's really interesting is that if you look at the bloopers from the ISS, now this is supposed to be live video. They're supposed to be floating in space. I have to say my old videos looked realistic as far as being probably in space. I watched all the conspiracy theories 10 years ago for any of their clues that they thought it was fake, and all of the clues were, yeah, you know, questionable maybe, but there was no smoking guns. But now, I mean, all I can say is there's ample evidence that ISS video is fake in this reality. Not saying that means the Earth is flat. NASA could lie for a lot of reasons. And as you know, I'm kind of a sim theory kind of girl, so that's not wholly incompatible with flat Earth, but it is not the same thing. Okay, so why do I think this? So this, I've had videos on before that showed some of it, but here's another one. So this guy is supposed to be on the ISS, and he's supposed to be doing a live video just showing you cool stuff that can be done on the ISS. So this is supposed to be the ISS according to NASA. But here's something very strange that happens. Let's see. Fortunately, I can't quite see my button over there. There. Okay. So he's going to be demonstrating this. I don't know why I'm pointing with my finger. He's going to be demonstrating a trick with this card. And at first the card will float just a tad. I'm not sure if I have it so that you'll see the tiny floating. But then suddenly he just drops the card. And it drops like a normal gravity card. If you accidentally drop a playing card and you just open your hand like he doesn't fling it down, he just opens his hand, the card should float in space if you're in space. It should not drop like a bomb. And these things aren't even heavy. So there's something really, really fishy here about this. Now, I killed the sound, but I'm going to play the video. Okay, let's see. Coming, bloop. He dropped it. So yeah, no, I don't think that's right somehow. Replay. Yeah, that's gravity, people. That is not. And look, the hammer floats. So how do we think this is done? I am not sure on this one. I'm thinking maybe some algorithm boo-boos. But a lot of people feel that this is probably a green screen, a lot of it. Possibly these guys are just in a previous video, but green screened. Once in a while, maybe something nearby won't be green screened. and that these are CGI'd in. They do have live CGI that they can add in these days. So there could be an algorithm problem with that one, basically. This is the weirdest one I've seen as far as dropping stuff. Let's see, I think I have some more stuff up earlier. After that one. Okay, this is another one where he drops something. So this guy is a Russian dude, and he yaks away in Russian. But basically, he's talking about there's a screw, and he's like, this screw, blah, blah, blah. And he drops it. And it drops, you can't really see it drop because it's really tiny, but you can hear it hit the ground and go clink, clink, and you can see that he looks down immediately. Now, if you drop a screw in space, you should be looking in the air for it, right? Because it should be floating, but you can see that he immediately looks down, and he bends over and he grabs it. So it's floating, floating, now he's fidgeting with it. Oop, dropped it on the ground. He has to go all the way to the floor to find that screw because it fell all the way down. And if the sound's on, you can actually hear it go clink. So, let's see. This is another one. I don't know. I think I've seen this one before. Okay, so she's supposed to be live on the ISS. And she's got these props. Now, you can see how these props are now generated by a CGI computer or something because she's got this one. This one up here is going to magically show up like, this is supposed to be a live feed, so there shouldn't be any magically showing up toys here, but you will see one magically show. Bloom. There you go, and now she's interacting with it. So it wasn't there before. It's like totally ridiculous. Like, this is one of the most obvious bloopers. I'll show it again. Yeah, I don't think so, guys. So, yeah, anyway. So, I don't know what's going on with, there's a bunch more of these, but I'm not going to play them all. Let's see if I can shrink this down. Those are two of the better ones. This guy is on Odyssey, ODYSEE.com, and his channel is God's Flat Earth. And this show is from April 25th, 2020. So, I don't know what's going on. All I can tell you is there's a lot of these. It's very hard to find them on YouTube because they used to be easy to find, but now they're in like the deepest, darkest depths of the search engine hell on YouTube, and you will not find them. If you type in like fake NASA videos, you will find millions and millions of, regular NASA videos. You can't find these anymore. But you can find them on Odyssey pretty easily. So anyway, I don't know what's going on with ISS, but it's obviously bull. Random gave me $8. I think that's dollars. Thank you. I didn't even hear the cling cling. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. There's no video of how they built ISS. Yeah, pretty much most stuff now is like CGI looking and fake looking. And I really feel like it's a Mandela for me because when I look back on things, they just don't look right. The other thing you'll really see is if you look at, I don't know if you heard of the thing called the vomit comet, but basically they take a plane up, and it's specially designed plane up high altitude, and then they just let it drop. It's designed to drop, and the people inside will then experience weightlessness until it gets to a certain lower altitude, and then it'll start flying again, and then it has to fly back up, and they'll do it over and over, and people can experience weightlessness, practice weightlessness. And if you look at the vomit comet videos, you'll see how like weightless hair is. And so weightless hair is similar kind of to being underwater. It's kind of undulating, but it's mostly down. So the long-haired girls on the vomit comet, it will, it'll just kind of go like this. But you'll notice that if you watch the ISS videos, all the girls' hair, it's like they stuck their finger in an electrical outfit. It's stuck up straight. It's kind of frozen. It doesn't wiggle around the same. It doesn't act at all the same as in the vomit comet. And that's for the ISS videos. And a lot of people have also mentioned that if you were in some kind of high-tech, super sophisticated, delicate situation, probably they would either make you cut your hair short or nearly non-existent. Because these hairs, I mean, I don't even have long hair, but these hairs come out. They can get into things. They can cause trouble. And if you were like in some super sophisticated environment, you would, I don't think they'd let you have your hair out, standing straight up like you got electrocuted, and all that. I mean, at least they'd make you hairnet it and tie it down. So the whole thing is just weird. Okay, going through your videos here, or your comments. I didn't know that CERN had actually discovered the God particle. When did I hear that? Like 4 or 5 years ago, they said that they had evidence for the God particle. You know, it's funny. I had never even heard about the God particle when I was like young, and then I started to hear about it, and then it was in a movie, and then suddenly they found it. So I don't know. You hear about it first, and then they find it. You hear about Nibiru, or Planet X, as some kind of weird rumor that sounds totally nuts, and the next thing you know, now NASA's saying there might be one out there. I mean, what are the chances? When I finally heard of CERN, there was only one hadron. For me, it was haldron, now hadron. Collider, how many, when, where? Yeah, there was one big one. Now there's like gajillions. It was around 2014, then it was suddenly around since 2009. Are we talking about ISS? I don't know what we're talking about there. 60 Minutes posted today, moon landing is all a lie. Seriously? I haven't heard anything about that. 60 Minutes. Okay, type English. Moon landing hoax. Okay, I'm not really finding that. If they really seriously posted that, I think we would have heard about it. UFO sightings. Okay, I'm not really seeing it, so I don't know. Not sure where we're going with that one. Have you seen the video showing the CERN girl? Yeah, the famous CERN, what was that song again? Oh, yeah, the CERNettes. Yeah, okay. That was another one. Yeah. See, his necklace is floating and all that. So we think that's like basically zero gravity CGI, like computer generated. So there are going to be multiple layers. There'll be a green screen in the back. Green screen tech is, you know, old news. And then there's the person, and then they would need a computer generator to generate some of the effects, like the floating necklace and the wiggly hair, like that. So we're thinking that they didn't have all of their ducks in a row with the computer generating some of that stuff on those. Inside the moon landing conspiracy, was it real or was it fake? 60 Minutes Australia. Okay, let's go. That is the kind of info we need. Doink, doink. All right, there's a YouTube. I'll click on one of those YouTubes and see what we get. Hopefully there won't be any music. Stop.
Now this is...
Just because I don't want to get, oh, that is a 60-minute show. All this time we believe Neil Armstrong is the first human to ever land on the moon, while this current technology has revealed that it was a hoax and a big conspiracy. It will be covered in full by this video by 60 Minutes Australia. Original news video by 60 Minutes Australia. Ooh, all right, let's go there. "60 Minutes Australia." What is 60 Minutes Australia, though? Is that really 60 minutes? I'm just wondering if that's really mainstream, like 60 Minutes, or it's just somebody that named themselves 60 Minutes Australia. All right, let's go to Facebook and see what we've got. I just would be really surprised if this was a mainstream 60 Minutes TV show. Oh, it looks pretty close. Wait. Right, I really don't want video on here that will give me a copyright strike. God, it does look like it's the real 60 Minutes, kinda, doesn't it? Huh, interesting. You can stop. Okay. Yeah, it does look like it might be legit. I'm gonna have to watch that later. Obviously, I can't watch it now, but we can put it here for later. "60 Minutes Australia is mainstream, but it's actually better than the 60 Minutes USA." Well, one would imagine if they have that kind of stuff on. Time is going faster, so 60 minutes in 13 minutes sounds right. Yeah. So I don't know. What is it? It seems like time is about half for me. So I would say it's 30 Minutes Australia now. Where attention goes, energy flows. Those words really mean something. I think more than we thought. Unfortunately, they're probably debunking it. Well, I think if somebody put this on here and suggested I go watch it, they're probably not totally debunking it, at least. Well, I found a new Emmy, shared it, wants to throw it. Search guy throws axe like a boomerang. Oh, huh. Now, I've seen the one where the boomerang can go around twice now. You throw it, it goes all the way around, and it goes all the way back past you, and then goes ridiculous. But yeah, that's new. The Mayans said we really have 16-hour days right now. Okay, well, I wanted to say 12-hour days, but the Mayans say we have 16-hour days. That's interesting. Any source for that one? I know the days are just too dang short. Myth of the Mayan long count. I'm not going to find it with all this end of the calendar thing. Yeah, you're going to have to help me out on that one. I don't think I'm going to find it with an ordinary Google. Linda Lava Lamp. You know, I didn't even say hi to everybody, so I apologize. Hi, everybody, including Linda Lava Lamp. This July is the longest month ever. I'm hearing some people say it's gotten slower, but for me, it's like this, that it used to be way slower, and then it sped up really, really bad. And then this month, there are days that are a little longer, but they're not nearly as long as the days from like 10 years ago. So, yeah, they got a little slower, but they're still too freaking fast. So now we have super, super freaking fast and kind of fast for this month. Bible also says a third of a day will be lost at the end times. Ah, interesting. I don't remember reading that. Third of a day will be lost at end time. I'm always looking for Bible stuff about the end times, and I have not seen diddly squiddly. Ooh, look at this thing. I'm just going to say this really quick. Oh, no, it didn't show up. Dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. All right. Let me go back. Ah! Okay, I don't know if you saw, but that was that weird statue with the weird creepy face was showing right there as the background, but I can't get it back now. I swear these MEs, they plaster on stream backgrounds and stuff so we get used to these new versions all the time. Probably going to see a whole bunch of pictures of the Eiffel Tower that's brown now, so you'll get used to it. First, they'll show it in the sun. You'll think it's because of the sun. Okay, here we go. Third of the living creatures in the sea a third of the sea turned to blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died. A third of the ships were destroyed. Blah, blah, blah. We're definitely getting a lot of stuff turning red, and I think with the algal blooms baloney, we could get a third of the ocean turning red. See, I remember them saying the days will be shortened for the elect, but I don't remember it being like a specific number shortened, like a third. That's what I don't remember. So that's why I'm really curious. Days shortened. Let's look at that real quick. And also those sayings, I'm really suspicious about them having been there 10 years ago. Seems like kind of newish. Except those days be shortened. And except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Yeah, see, I see the shortened, but I don't see a third of the day part. Not saying it's not in there, but I have not seen that. Okay, so yeah, you're going to have to give me more of a direct quote, I think, in order to find that. All right, so you were saying an axe hit like a boomerang. Let's just check it out. Axe returns boomerang. Let's just put boomerang. Axe boomerang. Scalper axe. It's a scalper axe. Viking axe boomerang. Okay, so they're blaming it on... So it's a scalper axe. Yeah, I totally think this is a Mandela. So it used to have the exact shape of a boomerang in order to act like a boomerang. After you throw your axe, keep an eye on it. If it's coming in your direction, simply step out of the way. Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to catch it. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, have anybody been killed by these things in this timeline? Okay, so this is the shape of these scalper axes, which you can see really does not look much like a boomerang. And I wouldn't want to throw one of these suckers and come back. There's no winning. I mean, so nobody's in front of you, so it's coming back. It could hit you, but maybe it halfway comes back and hits somebody somewhere. Not good. You would think tomahawk boomerang. I'm sorry, but yeah, I totally agree. This is a Mandela scalper axe boomerang. I'm writing this down. I can't believe there isn't any videos of somebody getting like killed by one of these things. My gosh. I mean, when it's coming back, I'm sure it's not going slow. So the boomerangs, you know, they were lightweight wood. They had that special shape. You could totally, well, it still was a stretch to imagine it coming back, but it was much more believable than this giant metal thing with regular wood. This is heavy. And that's just creepy that it would come back. Quit it. Alright, it's not giving me any info. Maybe it's kind of newish. Still, I mean, really? That's a really good find, actually. Yeah, boomerang always comes back just one time. Used to. When did I see that? I was a little bit of a while ago. I don't know, for some reason I think it was a really busy Mandela week and I just didn't cover that one. Linda Lava had a migraine. Sorry about that. No, it seems like a lot of people are having migraines. I don't know if it's because of the shifts or just too much for people. I've actually been feeling better since I've been supplementing with thiamine, which is vitamin B1. So I'm not taking the DMSO anymore. The thiamine seems to be helping a lot. So you might want to check. Thiamine B1 is an interesting vitamin because it... thiamine is pretty much stopped. There's like a million things in the American diet that block uptake. So if you look at the normal diet of an average American, and coffee, tea, raw fish, aka sushi, sausage, sulfites, which could be sausage, salami, any of those kind of processed meats, plus dried apricots and a whole bunch of stuff like that. Flavonoids, which are in a lot of fruits and vegetables, will block thiamine uptake. And polyphenols like quercetin, and they're also in a lot of foods, will block thiamine uptake. Any drinking of alcohol will block thiamine uptake and require large amounts of thiamine to process. Thiamine is needed very much to process any toxins in the body, and it is needed whole body for functioning. So neurotransmitters, several of them require thiamine to be created. Energy levels, neurological functioning of the neurons, making of myelin, plus the energy cycle of the citric acid cycle for mitochondria to create energy require a bunch of thiamine and a bunch of magnesium, I might add. So I don't know. I've been feeling better since I've been supplementing with thiamine. But make sure you get your magnesium and other B vitamins with it. But the reason I think thiamine may be low in a lot of people is because it is just such a wimpy vitamin. Everything blocks it. Heat, radiation, light, and they're irradiating the meat now. So one of the main sources of thiamine is meat, but when they started irradiating meat to kill germs, they also kill about half the thiamine in the meat. Then if you drink coffee or something like that. So if you take your vitamin in the morning and swig it back with a cup of tea or coffee, the thiamine in that vitamin will not be digested. Also, if your vitamin has quercetin in it, or you take quercetin with your vitamin, the thiamine in there will probably not be digested either. So anyway, thiamine, it's total wimpy vitamin. The only other wimpy vitamin is vitamin C, but you'll find that a lot of fruits and vegetables have vitamin C, and you eat them raw. You can eat one orange and get your vitamin C RDA, but thiamine is only in meats. Most of them are irradiated now. Anyway, I just suggest if you have any weird symptoms, neurological, so like the main symptoms of thiamine deficiency are fatigue. Well, there's a lot of symptoms actually. If you're having like eye problems, like eye tracking, maybe eyes tired, it's needed for proper eye movements and functioning. Transmitters needed for GABA and acetylcholine. So GABA is kind of the feel-good hormone, and acetylcholine is the alertness hormone. So without those, if you don't have acetylcholine, you're not going to have a couple other hormones that also help with alertness. The other one that some people get is their satiation system in their brain is not right. So either be really hungry all the time or never hungry. So that's like anorexia, bulimia, go either way. Another thing it's really needed for is proper gut function. So it's a vicious cycle, because if you don't get enough thiamine, you will not have proper gut function. And if you don't have proper gut function, you can't digest thiamine. So get the sublinguals for that. Anyways, that's my little lecture on thiamine. Vitamin B1 is the same thing as thiamine, basically. But if you're going to supplement with B1, I would take some magnesium, because what can happen is if you're low, you take thiamine kicks in all these processes, and then all the cofactors can run out in a few days. So then you might feel tired again, because now you're out of magnesium, other B vitamins, So I react to stress and food. They actually make some pretty good thiamine sublingual, so that might be a good route to take, because then you don't have to worry if your gut function sucks, because you'll be getting it kind of through your mouth more. Yeah, talking about the one Mississippi thing. Yes, I swear it's like twice as fast now. I used to have to say one Mississippi as slow as I possibly could to make a second, and now it's like screaming fast. So yeah, I don't know what's up, and it might be that we just have more nutrition needs with everything that's going on. So thiamine that was plenty 10 years ago maybe isn't now. I'm starting to wonder if like all the body shifts actually are kind of happening on an organic level. Like they're not just magically appearing, that your body actually has to move grow those structures. And if that's the case, then nutrient needs are going to be high. Why would you catch an axe? Wouldn't you want it to stay flying towards your enemies? I don't know, the scalper axe. So it kind of sounds like you're hoping that it will either hit your enemy, or if it misses your enemy, that it'll fly back to you. And they won't get your axe, I guess would be the theory. It seems a little sketchy on the likelihood of you getting it back without like killing yourself or one of your own people. But maybe if you were all by yourself. I just can't see me deciding to try to axe somebody from, I don't know, it seems a bit stretched, but I'm 35 times going way faster, 2 eyes blind. Yeah, when I was 35, I wasn't talking about time speeding up either. They say, oh, you're getting older. I did not notice any difference between 25 and 35 as far as time. So it seems I'm hearing 25-year-olds complaining about time speeding up. And then people are blaming it on the internet. I've been on the internet since the 90s. I was an internet addict more in the 90s than now, so I don't believe it's the internet. I am in the UK and I still said Mississippi. When I was a kid, I just thought, why did they use the word Mississippi? Because back then it was too short a word. And I'm like, this is stupid. They should pick another longer word, like, say Mississippi twice or something, because it was too short a word to cover the whole second. But now it fits perfect, so it kind of makes a weird Mandela sense that they're going to keep it the same across the timelines. My 14-year-old said time is going faster. Yeah, when I was really a kid, like 5, time did seem a little slower. There was a lot to learn. But when I was 14 to when I was 12 to 14 to 16 to 8, I never talked about that. I never did. Shortened in Matthew is not to be taken in the sense of reducing a day to 23 hours instead of its usual 24, subtracting years from the 7, removing days from months. Well, I mean, that's somebody's opinion. Somebody has an opinion on how to interpret Matthew 24:21. But they might not be right. I mean, just because there's an official interpretation, I mean, Jesus did not come down here and personally tell me what that meant. So, I'm not big on listening to authority, so maybe that's the right interpretation, maybe it's not. That's really interesting about needing more nutrients because my iron and potassium have been lower than normal last week. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I think we have to maybe put more effort into nutrients because it seemed like I eat healthier now than I ever did, but I just seem to be running low on more stuff, and I've had to take supplements. And magnesium has helped a ton. Thiamine is really helping. I don't know, is there more radiation in the air, more something? Is it just everything we're going through? I don't know. So thiamine is another one. If you take extra, it's not a big deal because it's just your body will just excrete it. I mean, I wouldn't take ridiculous mass hordes of it, but take 10 milligrams or something. You're not going to have any problems. So. Okay, so what am I doing here? All right, should I go to that one or should I just do the next one? Okay, I'm going to do just the next one instead of going to that one. So, what color do you remember Siberian tigers? So no Googling now, just in your memory, what color are Siberian tigers? I'm not 100% sure on this, Mandela. I'm not sure if you'll agree with me on this one. But I saw something that I think was a little weird. Meanwhile, while you guys are answering that, I'm going to cover that spider I had on the front. So that one is a rainbow orb weaver spider. There's nothing really special about it. It's just weird. And I really needed a thumbnail, and so I figured I put that on. So this one's kind of an older Mandela for me, which is this thing. And then there was some like this one. And then lately I've seen that we have this bigger, it looks like a kind of a stupid smile or something. And so I just okay, you're the thumbnail. It's not the weirdest thumbnail I've ever had, but I don't think I've seen this guy yet. So I think that one's a little newer. All right. So that covers that. Let's see what you guys are on. So your potassium was low. You know what was low for me was phosphorus. It was not low, but I had some blood work done a couple months ago. I was surprised that my phosphorus was a little low. My potassium was okay. I'm thinking I'll eat as healthy as I can for another month or two, and then I'm going to get vitamin blood work done. Because when I got the other blood work done, I didn't specifically target vitamins. Everything came out in the normal range, though. So, I mean, technically, I'm healthy. Don't know. I don't know how much I trust blood work because I think there could be problems brewing that don't show in blood work, but at least there were no red flags. I mean, my phosphorus was low, but it was at the bottom of the range, which I don't really like, but it was still not low enough to really ping anything. The thing is, I eat a lot of phosphorus foods, so I don't know what's up with that. Supposedly there's a blind spot now in each eye caused by the connection of the optical nerve. The brain fills in the missing piece. Yeah, when was I saw that? That's kind of an older one. I don't remember ever knowing. Okay, when I was in college, I took a whole class just on the functioning of the eye, because you got to take extra classes for electives, and I was really interested in eye function. I took a whole class on that, and man, it was technical. I really kind of regretted it just because it was just an elective, and I had to work my butt off, and I was like dying. Usually you try to take easy electives, so I was like, dope. But they never once said anything about this eye hole thing. Now, that was a long time ago. But then when did I hear that eye hole thing? That was like 10 years ago, maybe. So yeah, I'm a little suspicious that was an early Mandela, but it's definitely been around a while. Almost the world as a wave to it. I do sometimes see kind of weird, like, I don't know, the vision is weird now. It just, every now and then something looks a little like flickery or wavy or something. And I talk to a lot of other people who have also experienced it. So it's really not anything that weird in this timeline. Video skips. Okay. So Space River News talking about seeing weird video skips. There are certain videos that I watch, like old music videos that I knew really well. And I do see that they're glitchy and skippy at places that are shifting. So I will see glitchy, shifty spots. I'll come back a month later and I'll see that something changed at that spot. So that might be it. I like blueberries. Currently, they are still blue. Yep. I think blueberries is another one that can block B1. That's why I suggest, like, try the B1 sublinguals, and then you don't have to worry about what's in your stomach because you'll get it through your tongue. I remember cotton. I found cotton can now grow in plants. I can't remember the name. I'm not sure what that means. Pea eggplant. Pea eggplant. All right, search pea eggplant. Pea eggplant. Solanum torum. Originates in Central America. Have naturalized in tropical Africa. Okay, well, what is it? So what are they, eggplants the size of a pea? Is that the thing? Are species of the eggplant fruit, which come from Solanum, and have much smaller size than regular fruits. One cluster combines from 10 to 15 eggplants. So I guess they're eggplants the size of a pea. I don't know, do they taste any good? Has anybody tried these things? They kind of look like grapes to me, actually. I'm assuming they're pea size, though. They are a species of eggplant fruit. Okay, so they're eggplants. Oh, weird. No, I've not seen those before. Pea eggplant. I want like cinnamon toast crunch eggplant or something. We got to start asking for the good stuff on these new plants. And they need to like grow in drought and snow, you know, like And there'll be a good ground cover, and we can plant them in the yard. That kind of thing. That's what we need to start asking for. I don't know. Maybe you guys like eggplant. I'm not a big fan. I want like cinnamon toast crunch eggplant. I did a video on it. This man is tearing open this plant and cotton grows inside. Huh. That's weird. Okay. I know there's like this, the silk floss tree has this big pod. And when you pop open the pod, there's a whole bunch of this silky, flossy. It's not technically cotton, but it looks similar. So it could be the silk floss. I don't know when that one I first knew about, maybe 10 years ago. Tattoos fade faster. I was talking to my buddy the other day, and he was like, could have swore this is only 2 years old, but it's faded. Granted, ink quality can be lower than 6 years, but yeah, that one's a tricky one because it could be that the ink itself sucks because they did change the rules on inks lately. Of course, that might just cover some other thing that is happening. I don't know. Tricky one. Candy corn plant. Oh, it looks like candy corns. Does it taste like candy corns? It kind of sounds familiar. I wonder if I covered this. Let me see what it looks like. There's like no, I don't think I covered that. Okay, it's close. The colors are just right, but the colors are right enough to make me feel kind of hungry. But it doesn't look like it's edible. Fall decor. Well, let's just take a gander. I want it to taste like candy corns. Semi-woody evergreen shrub. Color and shape of the flowers, which mimic the familiar candy. Alright, doesn't say they taste like it. See, now I want them to taste like it. Wouldn't that be fun? Doesn't have to be as sweet as the cinnamon toast crunch, but something like that. Maybe a mild version. Keep going back there. I don't believe that floaters are what they say anymore, like the need an excuse for the pixels showing through. I don't know. It doesn't really look like pictures, and they do seem to kind of float on the eye a little, so I don't know. I've seen that. So I do have visual snow, which is kind of a fuzzy background static, especially to be seen on black backgrounds, kind of like the old school TV static. So when you say pixels, that's what I think of. I've had that since the 90s after I went to this, the Monroe Institute Gateway, and I got back, and it's been ever since. So technically, it's not supposed to be, it's just supposed to be one of those things, but it did happen right after that. And to be clear, the meditation thing does not involve any medications or anything. It's purely sound and regular meditation. So Teresa Lynch had something about the corn truffle. Patoo birds are a Mandela effect. Yes, those have been on a couple times. Very, what is it? They haven't been around that long, maybe like 1 year. Corn truffle. All right, I'll look up the corn truffle. I think you guys all have to help me create the cinnamon toast crunch plant. It doesn't have to look like cinnamon toast crunch, but I want it to taste like cinnamon toast crunch. Corn truffle plant, I assume you're talking about. Corn mushroom. Corn smut. I think we've had that one on. Yeah, I think that one's been on. It's a fungus that grows on young maize. When the corn is in a silk, kernels become infected. They swell. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had this one on like a year ago maybe or something. Yeah. Ooh, it looks more gross than I remember it though. Loaded with soluble fiber, the amino acid lysine, and the antioxidant anthocyanine. I thought that was an R, anthocyanine. I think that might be a misspelling. All right, I'm going to just look it up really quick. Make sure that R is still in there. Anthocyanine, right? No way! I swear that was anthocyanine. Anthocyanine. Okay. Alright, I'm calling Mandela. It's anthocyanine now. It's anthocyanine. Missing an R. I was sure that they just goofed on that one. I swear. I'm like, no, they just messed up. Anthocyanine. Lost its R. Okay. The flavor of the young galls is musty, earthy, if not smoky. They taste like a cross between mushrooms and corn, while the fungus is used like expensive mushrooms and served in elegant restaurants in Latin America. I think we've had this one on, though. But yeah, ugh. All right. I do remember them saying it tasted like corn, and I'm thinking, yeah, it grows on corn, so it tastes like corn. I don't remember it being that gross last I looked, though. Close you. Close you. Close you. Fake NASA. Close you. Only heard of corn truffles a day ago. Antho doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's antho now. I'm glad you remember. Hey, just eat cinnamon vine. All right, I'm checking this out. Cinnamon vine. It better grow in my area or I'm going to be mad. Cinnamon vine. Cinnamon vine. A tuberous perennial vine can grow 11 feet. Can be eaten raw or cooked. Alright, when does it say it tastes like cinnamon? So I'm not seeing it. This plant has low severity poison characteristics. Okay, maybe I won't be eating it. Maybe not. You guys trying to kill me here? Gonna have to keep an eye on you people. Oh wait, it does say the edible tubers are cultivated largely in Asia. And used as alternative medicine. The species of yam is unique as tubers can be eaten raw. Now considered invasive in the United States. Alright, where's the part where it tastes like cinnamon? Contain human hormones and promoted as medicine. Can be eaten raw. The peeled whole tubers are briefly soaked in vinegar to neutralize the oxalate crystals. The raw vegetable is starchy and bland, mucilaginous when cut or grated, and may be eaten plain as a side dish. You know what? That does not sound good at all. Starchy and bland. I guess what they're making slimy noodles out of it. It looks like. Yeah, nope, not cinnamony. Sorry, nice try though. Okay, Scarab had a video about burning waves in Indonesia. All right, let's check it out. Ugh, that's weird. Fine. Burning waves. What the heck? So what is it? Some kind of a methane balonies or what? It really does look like they're burning. Alright, I'm gonna just jump around. Oh, okay. So yes, there was definitely flames along that edge. Okay, what's the storyline? So here's the thing. If there's methane, is the fire burning under there? And then I don't see how the water doesn't put the fire out. There's no oxygen when the water goes over the top. It should put the fire out. And, okay. Well, what would cause it to light in the first place? Residents were baffled by bizarre burning waves that appeared on a beach in Indonesia. The seawater was seen glowing before catching fire upon hitting ashore in Sulteng, Centro Sulawesi province. Okay, that's pretty weird. More from News Flare. The burning waves lasted for 3 minutes before it disappeared on its own. Local officials were informed of the incident and have launched an investigation, which find out the cause of the fire, which they said could be due to an oil spill. Okay, oil spill or no, we've had a million oil spills, and I don't see how that explains how it lit on fire and then got covered with water and then relit on fire. I just don't see it. Now, if you look at this video, it looks kind of reddish along here, so maybe like some kind of chemical in there. But again, I don't, maybe some kind of, what is that? What is it, burning? What was that metal that burns and it won't go out? There was a story a couple years ago about somebody putting some rocks in their pocket and their pants caught on fire and they couldn't get it to, was it some kind of something salts? It was some kind of popularly used inflammatory material, like they use it in munitions and stuff. So that maybe some of that spilled. I guess you could say it was that. That's still weird, though. Interesting. Tell us more about the ZIO agenda. I don't know what the ZIO is. So I guess I can't tell you about the agenda. I don't know what the agenda is. You know, the timeline is weird. A lot of stuff's changed. A lot of stuff's fake that used to be real. The past changed. Is there some kind of agenda behind it? I mean, certainly there's clues that might indicate as such. But I don't know. I really don't know what the heck's going on. And you know what turns out to be true may be different in every timeline. That could be that in one timeline things get straightened out, in another the New World Order takes over and destroys everything, and over here, in some other timeline, it all turns out that people were just stupid, and they wake up. I don't know. Yeah, I think, was it magnesium? Magnesium fires can't be put out. I think it was magnesium. Magnesium fire. So if I remember right, it was that you can't put that out with water. So yeah, okay, there. How do you put out a magnesium fire? Fire service has struggled with magnesium fires. Associated with a high risk of fires and explosion. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was magnesium now that I think about it. So yeah, you can't, like, people would put water on it and it just doesn't do anything. And they've even like put it underwater and it didn't do anything. So it could be some kind of magnesium fire. I still am very suspicious about some of this stuff. There's been a whole slew of water on fire things lately. There was the oil explosion where there was oil and then that caught fire. Then there was the mud volcano, and they said the scraping rocks created sparks that caused gases to ignite, and that was on fire. Now we've got this magnesium fire type thing, maybe. So it does seem to be kind of a trend. Sodium metal on water. Yeah, I'm not enough of a chemist to really say, but it seems to me there are certain things that maybe the military was doing something. I don't know. Still, I'm very suspicious of it just because we've seen so much of that lately. I don't know what people can see with their eyes closed, like energy and shapes and geometry and patterns of some kind. I can definitely see like energy swirling around and stuff, but I can see that with my eyes open when it's dark too, and it's kind of a like another visual snow thing. Chinese yam tastes like cinnamon. Does it? I don't know. They're not saying that. I'll tell you, I'm very picky. So sometimes people say it tastes good, and I'm like, "Nyeh." I'm going to have to look up plants that taste like cinnamon, though. Oh, yep, that's what IZREAL uses on native Palestinians. Okay. Ooh, yeah, that's quite the political mess over there. So I don't know if I want to stick my toe into there. Just say that I think in the recent years, just about everywhere in the world, every government is suddenly, and I guess you could say that it's unveiling the truth, but I do think there's a lot of Mandelas involved as well. Extremely crooked and corrupt, extremely. And I don't think it's just the unveiling of the truth. I do think that it is also maybe an extrapolation or a manifestation of the worst side of humans that has gotten worse. And so I don't think that, over there that you just discussed is any better. But there's America doing it, and, we've seen a lot in Canada, Australia, the media, the news from both sides of the political spectrum, everywhere. White phosphorus used. Oh yeah, white phosphorus. Yeah, it could do that too. White phosphorus. I just remember there was one thing around here that we have a lot of military bases, and somebody got a rock and put it in their pocket, and then it like burst into flame and burned their butt, and they couldn't even put it out with water. And then they said it was that, and then they said, oh, it was probably dropped by some military guy. The floods in China, horrendous. They had to explode 2 dams. Yeah, and then you've got the German floods. So I'm hoping that maybe those are areas that are not real. We have seen like new islands show up, and then the hurricane goes over the top of them, and they say massive destruction, and we never even heard of those islands and their Mandelas. So was there really people on those islands? I mean, there's definitely images. I don't know. I'd like to hope that maybe they aren't. They might be new parts of Germany. Maybe it's just my wishful thinking that I don't want to think that real people suffered that badly as these floods. But I did notice that, like, for instance, there's a lot of, for me, new territory up at the top of California. And right around that time that that territory was developing, there was like the massive fires up there. And we never had big fires up north before. It was always southern. And there, it was even in Sunnyvale area and like that, there was rarely any really serious fires. So I'm just wondering if, you know, hopefully those are new areas without any real people, hopefully. It would make me feel better if it was. All right, so where are we? Oh, yeah, you guys ever said with the Siberian tigers, did you? Smack. Okay, so I remember Siberian tigers as being white tigers. But in the current timeline, Siberian tigers are naturally just orange, but a cross between Syria, God, I can't speak today. Siberian and other species, somehow they got the white ones by crossing them. And they're not white. Siberians aren't white, they're orange. So, I mean, I should just look this up because I'm not explaining it very well. I just remember Siberian tigers as being white. White with black stripes, you know, but that was always the thing. And I'm like, oh, they're in Siberia. That's why they're white, because they're in Siberia and there's snow. But no, these are, so today I saw an image of Siberian tigers and I'm like, but they're orange. And I'm like, that guy is not a Siberian. So you can see almost all of them are orange now. A few are calling it white wallpapers. But here they're saying they're white Siberians. So now we don't have Siberian tigers so much as we have white tigers. So you can have white Siberian tigers or you have Siberian tigers. But Siberian tigers are not generally white. So I have to look up white tigers to get the info on what I was think was Siberians. White tiger. The white tiger or bleached tiger is leucistic pigmentation variant of Bengal Siberian tigers and hybrids between the two. Okay, which is reported in the wild from time to time. Has black stripes typical of Bengal, but carries a white or near white coat. All right, then there also is these all white tigers, which I have not heard of before. But this is them. They have almost none or almost no stripes. So they're just white. So there's one, a white tiger with almost no stripes at the Mirage in Las Vegas. In case you've never seen those. Anyway, so I don't know. For me, I'm very suspicious that Siberians were just white tigers. They were the white ones, and that's why they called them Siberians. But now anything can be a white tiger, and Siberians aren't necessarily white. They're mostly just orange. I truly believe AI is writing every article and all we see is deep fake and green screen and government buildings. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe the reality is just fake, or it always was, or it's in flux, or I don't know. You know, I don't know what to think. I mean, AI or no, the AI, you know, it's just a computer program. How did it go in and change things in my house? It shouldn't be able to. So there's something going on more than just a computer program. Sumatran tigers are orange, Siberian are white and black. Yeah, no, they're saying the Siberians are mostly orange, and then white ones just kind of are mutant of the Bengals or mutant of the Siberians, but are rare. rare mutants. Shari remembers black and white. Yay! Okay, so I got 2 people who remember Siberians as white. Yay! Every catastrophe, there will be a ME change in geography. It kind of seems like that. That's why I'm hoping that those places maybe are just getting rolled into existence there. I mean, certainly we've seen Europe shape is really different. Germany seems a lot bigger to me, at least compared to the surrounding areas, so it could be fresh territory. We've seen a lot of change in Australia as far as shape. I've seen people making videos about DC being empty. Huh. It doesn't cost like a fortune to live there, too. And you've got all those empty buildings in China. Geez, I just saw a thing, I think it was in Turkey or something. They built a whole, like, couple hundred fairy tale Disneyland places that are empty. Let's see, Disney land houses empty. I think it was Turkey. Just saw that today. There it is, Turkey. Yes, correct memory. The $200 million ghost town in Turkey is filled with castles reminiscent of Disneyland, minus all the people. All right, so would you really build $200 million worth of these little mini castles and not have a single one sold or rented? I mean, wouldn't you just build a few and try to rent them first? An abandoned ghost town in Turkey filled with Disney-like castles. 530 castles remain empty, and tourists often visit to see the eerie ghost town in real life. Near the small town of Murdurnu in Turkey, northwest regions. I don't know. There's just so many of these stories now of empty everything. First it was China, now it's Turkey, DC. So, I mean, I've kind of been thinking about this lately. So, since the lockdown, there was the lockdown for the Rona, and everything was really quiet, but you're like, okay, everybody's locked down. They're hiding in their house. They're nervous. They don't want to die. So it made sense that the streets were very empty. But now we're supposed to be pretty much back. There shouldn't be many people staying home. Even if it's 10% or 20%, it shouldn't be a huge debt. But what I'm kind of seeing is when I go out at night, I'm kind of a night owl, so it's a little bit later than normal. So I go out at like 8 or 9, and it's like the streets are just way too empty. I mean, do people hate the nighttime now? I don't know. It's just, there's just something off. It just seems like there's not enough people. So a lot of facilities around here started closing earlier. So like places that used to be open till midnight, and then they were open till like 7 p.m. during the lockdown, and then they went back to their midnight, and now they're closing earlier. Oh no, we're only open till 11 now. We're only open till 10 now. So places that I'm like, oh, I know that place is open till midnight, new hours. No, they're not. So I mean, does the COVID come out at night and people are scared? I don't know, but it just seems a little weird. The replicants are being herded for meetings. Yeah, I don't know. So are we missing some people? Did they shift out? I mean, we haven't had that many deaths in this area from the Rona to account for this number. I mean, the population drops 0.05%. You're not going to notice. And it's mostly old people who probably didn't go out much anyway, so especially not at 9 p.m. Okay, Shanty Moody remembers the white and the white Siberians, and so does Tinhead 92. Preliminal. I've been to London a couple times lately, and unfortunately, it's all too real. They are there. I don't know, but Ottawa is empty. Okay, so places that still have a lot of scared people and heavy lockdowns, it would make sense if they're quite slow. And maybe DC is full of scared people, but really around here, it just there's not that many. I don't know anybody staying home right now. I don't know. My timeline, the world population was 9 billion, now it's 7 billion. So what I remember was people saying it was 10 billion. And unfortunately, I hadn't really been tracking it, so I really can't swear if it was a Mandela 5 years ago. But I have seen it do weird things since then, because I have been tracking it since then. But it was 10 billion for a lot of people were saying. Yes, the concept of the dead internet, like everyone is gone but us. Even LA was weird and empty with random pockets of people out of nowhere, then gone again. Yeah, I don't know. See, now LA is much more phobic about the Rona, but I do wonder if maybe that will hide some changes, a lot of changes. Oh, everybody's home because they're scared. I don't know. It just, you know, I live in kind of a Republican town, and it just seems like there's not enough people out. All right, so burning waves. Got that. All right. I covered, actually. Okay, all right, so what places do you remember Japan bombing during World War II? I mean, there's going to be America. Now, recently we did seem that surprised that Japan bombed Alaska. But now there's another one. What did they bomb even more than Pearl Harbor? There was one kind of surprise country that I never heard of getting bombed more than Pearl Harbor that did get bombed more than Pearl Harbor. And no cheating on the internet. You know the drill. You know the rules. You know the rules. You guys are good. I know you don't cheat. All right. I'm going to cover another one while you think about that one. So the other thing that I kind of noticed lately is I remember in school being taught about the Black Plague. And it stuck in my head as the big one, the big nasty. It was the Black Plague. The Black Plague. So recently somebody else told me about the Black Plague. She's blah, blah, blah. It's not the Black Plague, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I look up, and guess what? There was no Black Plague now. That is not even a term. If you look up the Black Plague, and I think this one might have changed a couple years ago because I started seeing this other term around 2 years ago maybe. So apparently there was never a Black Plague now. It was the Black Death, also known as the pestilence, the Great Mortality, or the Plague. There was no Black Plague. There was the Plague. I've actually never heard of the pestilence or the Great Mortality either. The Plague, there was different plagues. That's why if you said the Plague, they would say the Black Plague because it was a certain one. But that never happened now. It's the Black Death. And the other thing about it is that it was a bacteria now. It wasn't a virus. And if you had antibiotics, now you could easily take care of it. No problemos. We have antibiotics. So when I was a kid, I remember that being really dangerous. And it was gone. It like exterminated itself. And it was always like this horrible, scary thing. Like, you know, we don't want that to come back because we'd all die, right? But now you just take antibiotics, you'd be fine. So that's the other thing that's weird about it. The Black Death, the bubonic plague. Today, plague occurs in fewer than 5,000 people a year worldwide. It can be deadly if not treated promptly with antibiotics. The most common form of plague results in swollen and tender lymph nodes called buboes. Yeah, see now, we didn't have have this still around. Known as the Black Death during medieval times. Today, plague occurs, and blah, blah, I covered that. Pneumonic plague affects the lungs. All these beasts carry it, apparently. Prevention. No effective vaccine is available. But basically, you take antibiotics and then you're fine. That's the storyline. I'm not going to go through it. But yeah, okay, so I think I've covered that. I don't remember the plague still existing at all. But also the Black Plague never existed now. And then this thing where you just have to take antibiotics, I call baloney on that one also. It was, okay, Shari remembers Black Plague. Yay! Two Eyes Blind remembers it. The most famous Siberian tigers belong to Siegfried and Roy. So many people thought all Siberian tigers were white. No, I knew about Siberian tigers long before those guys. I'm old, and I refuse that naysay. Only Hawaii. Yeah, that's what I remember is only Hawaii. And then it was Alaska. China, I thought that was the previous, like an earlier war. It was not like, it was before the war kind of with us and everybody else. England. It wasn't England. Good guess, though. Good guess. Romania, no. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some of these other two, but that wasn't the one. The Black Tom explosives. Nope. All right, I'll get to that as soon as I finish this plague one here. People are too dumb to say bubonic. You know, at like 1:40 in the morning, sometimes I am too, but I managed to get it out today. So Shari remembers Black Plague. David Kent remembers Black Plague. Bubonic Plague I remember, and then there was Black Plague. But now they're kind of saying that they're like sub versions of the Black Death. I played a horror game based on it, and they called it the Black Death. Okay, so you remember Black Death. Oop, it jumped. Ghost users from Black Death timeline. That weird person is from Black Death. Was Black Death and Black Plague two different diseases? I could not find any info for Black Plague. As far as I can tell, it never existed. It was the Black Death or the Plague. Chanty remembers Black Plague. Preliminal remembers them bombing Hawaii and then Canada and Alaska. That weird person, Black Death. Okay, so it's maybe 50-50, maybe a little bit more Black Plague people. Okay, so it was Australia. Australia got bombed. And very specifically, it was Darwin. So the story is all weird because they're saying that it was bombed 64 times by Japan. And it was more bombs than Pearl Harbor. More Japanese bombs fell on Darwin than on Pearl Harbor. I'm not sure what this storyline was going to say because I haven't clicked on this one. But basically, the ones I read were saying that, like, Australia didn't want to really admit it because then they would have to do something. Was kind of the story. So they just kind of covered it up. I'm like, I don't get how you bombed Darwin 64 times and nobody finds out. On 19th February 1942, war came to Australia for the first time since white settlement. 200 Japanese aircraft were dispatched to attack Darwin early in the morning. Within minutes, a torrent of high explosives began dropping from the sky. Virtually unopposed, the attackers left Darwin almost completely destroyed. The airfield was a shambles, blah, blah, blah. The population panicked. The civilians took to road in cars, trucks, and motorcycles, or on foot. The level of panic among servicemen was deplorable. Deserted their posts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's all the bombing raids. February, March, another March. So, like, what, every few days in March, basically. And then, like, once a week in April, and then once a week in June, once a week in July, August, yam. Okay, boy, there's not much info on this page, though, is there? So how come you never heard about it? They were bombing Darwin repeatedly for months. Even the first one, Darwin, was basically ruins. Why do you keep bombing the same city over and over again if you've already totally annihilated it on the first try and everybody left? The Japanese inflicted heavy losses upon Allied forces at little cost. Darwin had been key in the South Pacific air ferry route. I guess, Australia is not way out there in the boony lands now, so that must be why it got bombed. Trying to find that story about why they didn't talk about it. It was really weird. Chaos in Darwin. All right. It was launched against a nation that had already declared war on Japan. Okay. Oh, this is interesting because I just read this myth and now already it's a debunked myth. A frequently repeated myth is that Australian government downplayed the damage from the bombing raids on Darwin in a cover-up. The newspapers of the day disproved this claim. On the day of the attack, the Prime Minister is quoted on the front page of most newspapers. Damage to property was considerable, but reports so far to hand do not give precise particulars about the loss of life. The government regards the attacks as most grave and make it clear that a severe blow has been struck on Australian soil. Okay, so the storyline moves too fast for me. I've never even heard of these freaking bombings, but now they apparently had a bombings, and for a while the storyline was that the Australian government covered it up, and that's what I saw like last week when I looked this up. But now that is a myth, and actually the government never covered it up. So the story I was reading last week was it was covered up, and that's why you never heard of it. Such a Mandela storyline. But now it was never covered up. I don't know, maybe all these stories are all existing at once, but it's like making me crazy in the head. Why did they keep bombing the heck out of Darwin when apparently Darwin was totally bombed to death on the first try? I won't even try to touch it. The Jeff Bezos rocket-shaped plant. Nepenthe. I probably don't want to click on that because they might censor my whole video if anything looks like that. But you guys can check it out. Sorry. Nepenthes holdenii. Holdenii. Okay. I won't touch that one, literally and figuratively. Yeah, I don't know. Somehow it just doesn't seem like a total coincidence. The shape of Bezos's little jaunt there. If anybody has seen the shape of the rocket ship that Bezos went up in, from my understanding, he only went to kind of the upper atmosphere. He never even was in space, so it's kind of ridiculous. Darwin bombings are new to Shari. Was Bill Gates' grandfather involved as health minister during the Spanish flu? Oh, I've never heard of that, but somehow it would not surprise me. Let's see, is that legit or internet rumor, or maybe it'll be legit next week? All right, Bill Gates' grandfather, health minister, Spanish flu. Just put that many in and see. All right, not really finding it there. I mean, I don't know, maybe. I'm not really finding evidence of it, but can't really look it up. I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but there's also a lot of internet rumors, so it's really hard to sort it out. Based on that change, there will be even more changes in future. Darwin bombings are new. Yeah, SMQAI, I assume you mean. SMQAI had a lot of talking about Australia changes in World War II. Yep. Well, you know, they used to be out in the middle of nowhere, so they were sort of out of everything. Who's going to go way down there and deal with them? Okay, so got you. Black Plague, Arctic. I should have looked this one up, but basically some skeptic found this. So some skeptic found a bunch of maps with the Arctic ice on them. Most of them are kind of older, but I've never even seen one. But yeah, this is the kind of ones that they're showing now. It seems like we're seeing a lot of maps from this angle now. And I never saw maps from this angle because there wasn't a lot to see. Basically from the pole looking down. Interestingly, this is more like the flat Earth map because they believe that the Earth is flat. The Arctic is the middle, and the Antarctic all the way around is the ice wall. And there is an ice wall. And on Antarctica, like a few 100 feet high wall of ice. Whether it goes all the way around the Earth or not is open to question. There is some interesting things. So anyway, the skeptics showed up because we're all like, there's no maps showing the ice at the Antarctic ice or the Arctic ice anymore. And then suddenly, yes, now there are. There actually are a bunch, and older ones and newer ones. They don't look like the maps we remember. Most of them are from this angle. And then a few of them are really old and kind of showed wavy ice. A few of them are from the angle we're used to, but it looked really weird. So I don't know. Something's up. I wonder if we're having maybe a shift towards the flat Earth map. So you can kind of see that the way it's developing, I'm not sure what it means, but all these continents are getting so close together now that it makes more sense to have a map from this angle. But I don't know. Let's see if I can find the... Yeah, see, all of these show it from... But he did find some old geezer maps that kind of showed it from the normal angle with, you know, like the North America, South America. Well, for you, it'd be North America, South America, Europe, and Africa. angle that we're so accustomed to seeing. But I'm too lazy to dig those up, but you can pretty much imagine how it is. So I don't know. I think one of the things I wanted to say is this is kind of what I've noticed. Okay, something disappears, and then it's kind of you forget about it. A couple years go by, maybe longer, maybe 4 or 5 years. So we saw all the ice disappear off of Arctica area, Arctica for me, and now it's kind of coming back. But when it comes back, it looks different. So if it suddenly changed, you might be you might notice it. But if it just sort of disappears for a while, you forget about it. Oh, we don't put those on the maps anymore. Like a lot of people just think that they just change the maps and stop doing that. But no, they've always been that way. Always. But now it's coming back, but it's going to look really different. So the other thing I've noticed is like the stars. You know, we used to be able to see a lot of stars, and now we can't. And they say it's light pollution. And even when I went out into the place in Idaho that's supposed to be a special dark place where you can see a lot of stars, I couldn't see that many stars, not compared to my old world. So the stars go away. They blame it on light pollution. So maybe a couple years from now, oh, we're going to get new light bulbs. There's less light pollution. Something. I don't know. We might. I don't know this, but I'm just wondering if the stars will come back, but they'll just look really different than we're used to. Slowly sneaking back. You know, 5, 6 years later, you kind of forgot how they looked, right? People won't question. So anyway, that's just a theory I have about stuff sneaking off and then sneaking back. Although it kind of looks like the moon is sneaking off and maybe not coming back. And something's going on with Antarctica also. If you guys remember the video, you know, there's a lot of... so Antarctica is basically officially an archipelago of islands now. It's not a whole solid, exactly continent because a lot of it's underwater. So now they're describing a continent as a shelf of land, even though some of it's underwater. So it's a continent that way, but it's actually a bunch of islands. So something's going on with Antarctica too. So what, is it going to become an ice wall? Is it going to become islands? I don't know. I don't know anymore. It just gets so weird. I don't trust this article, but this is what I found. Okay, this is about the Bill Gates' grandpa thing. It does seem like this timeline loves this story of families, crooked all through history kind of thing. Facebook user Vitalia Cardava published a post where she speaks about Spanish flu. Links the outbreak to contemporary Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, particularly Frederick L. Gates, who back then carried out bacterial meningitis vaccination in soldiers. The author claims he was the grandfather of present-day American businessman, philanthropist Bill Gates. Oh, I think I saw this on another video. So is it a related person? Gates is not the strangest name in the world. Frederick L. Gates started the experiment on vaccines in January 1918. 100 people, blah, blah, blah. All right, they're saying Bill Gates' grandfather was not Frederick Gates, but William Henry Gates. Frederick L. Gates did not participate in World War I. He was his father, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they're saying no. I don't know, you know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Bill Gates Sr. at the NAS Foundation Trust in New Delhi. NAS sounds a lot like just put one more I on the NAZ. Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes I think the reality is just trolling us with weird stuff. Yeah, Greenland's huge. I mean, yeah, Greenland is like sitting on top of the pole now almost. I've been saying that for a while. Yeah, it was way lower, and it was, I mean, it looks bigger because it's higher, but it is actually bigger, too. Have you guys heard of Quataria? Is that old version where there was, like, 4 continent-looking thingy land masses around the the pole. I think that was Quatria. Have red people stop investigating the Kennedy assassination because of too many ME changes? You know, if you didn't believe in the Mandela and you were trying to research the Kennedy assassination, and every time you looked at it, the video looked different than you remembered, and the stuff that you thought you knew is wrong, and you felt like an idiot, and you wondered if you're going crazy, you'd probably just stop talking about it. So it kind of makes sense. I notice that a lot of stars don't twinkle. I don't know, there's just hardly any stars visible anymore. I used to see so many. I'm just not buying the whole light bulb light pollution business. I would have to relearn the entire Earth's history, anatomy, physics, art, and literature every single day. Yeah, I know. I quit studying astronomy because of the Mandela effect. Yep. Why spend too much time on it when it's just going to probably change by next year anyway? The birds are up screeching at 3 a.m. Yes, I've even had them start as early as midnight. And it's weird because my brain is still totally associates the singing birds with dawn. I mean, it was not often that I stayed up till dawn, but when I heard those birds, the minute I hear the birds, I'm like, oh, damn. I stayed up until sunrise, and every last time I'd heard those birds, I'd look out and the sun would be coming up. Not anymore. I went to the deep desert and there was no stars. Yes, I went, January. No stars. I mean, there's a few, more than here, but not even close to what here used to have. Are you having more sleepy seed film around your eyes when you get up? Yeah. When 10 years ago, I hardly had any of that. So definitely. But that's been going on for a while. So Quatria. I think Quatria, isn't that? Let me just double check it. Quatria. It's hard to keep up with all the latest conspiracy theories. Ancient lost civilization which existed before the last ice age. Thought to have been a geomorph, oh, wait, I don't know that one. A quasi-sentient landmass, which is able to change its shape and location. No, I have not heard of that one. Okay, no. That's a new one for me. I've heard of this Quatria thing the last few weeks, but I was thinking it was more like I just assumed it was those 4 islands at the North Pole that are on the old maps. One might call the legends around Quatria multi-dimensional. You can't really dismiss anything anymore. Like, everything is just so weird. As weird as Quatria is, it's not much weirder than the Mandela effect, so... Okay, the fabulous history of Quatria was in part revived in modern times thanks to the rediscovery of copious notes left by one Edward Allen Oxford, who claimed to have been shipwrecked during World War I near Deception Island in the South Shetland Islands of Antarctica. The only problem is the island which he claimed to have survived on for nearly 2 years, called Middle Island, is supposed to not exist at all. Wikipedia lists it as a phantom island. Phantom Island is a purported island which was included in the maps for a period of time but was later found not to exist. Oxford named this island Quatrica, sometimes spelled Quatria. Said it was a tropical island which obviously impossible at those cold Antarctic climes during this time, and yet somehow inexplicably survived in this inhospitable environment. So the story of Quatria is that Antarctica was not always situated at its present location. During the times of Quatrian settlement, Antarctica was an archipelago without any ice. Ooh, I was just talking about that archipelago. Okay, so right now, if you took off all the ice of Antarctica, they say it's an archipelago, just islands. and the island's glued together with a bunch of ice sitting on top of it. So now it could be a bunch of islands if the ice wasn't there. Sentient landmass theory, there's another alternate suggestion, but forward. First proposed in 1800s by Garnhard von Helmdown, a scholar of medieval Pentarch literature. Some medieval Pentarch sources referred to Quatri as little more than a small island, but others called it a continent due to its immense size. He hypothesized that this variation could be due to geomorphic capabilities as a sentient landmass capable of determining at will its own size, shape, and location. All right, now that sounds, of course, highly ridiculous. However, with the Mandela, I mean, we're seeing the same thing. So I don't know if pieces of the Earth or the whole Earth is somehow sentient, or it's a sentient hologram world. It's no weirder than what we're seeing, huh? Okay, so this is interesting because it does fit a lot with the Mandela. It's like an alternate explanation. Like the timeline didn't change. Instead, the shapes changed by magic. Now that, I don't think it'll still hold because we're seeing that it's not that the roads are shifting and everything is shifting just in a certain way that hides it all. So if it was just the land was sentient and changed, then, you know, cities should fall off or there should be craters or something. So I don't think that quite explains the Mandela, but it's interesting. Island in Israel covered in demonic rabbit men. Island in Ireland covered in demonic rabbit men. Is it like an old legend? Ireland. Island in Ireland. Say that a bunch of times fast. See if I can do a different search and dig this thing up. So you can't find anything. I type in Ireland rabbit man and all I get is Ireland, Ireland, Ireland. This is DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. They all suck now. All the search engines are just trash. So I get, what, 10,000 listings for Ireland and none for rabbit men. Okay, well, anyways, back to the stories here. All right, this one found by Susan Ravella. Good find, Susan. So apparently ducks, geese, and chickens now have like their breathing hole for breathing like in their tongue. So that's this. Ooh, did I delete it? No, here it is. Okay, so this, I believe, is this a chicken? I believe this is a chicken. Yes, chicken. All right, so this here is the glottis. So this is the tongue. So basically now I've said before, I don't remember all these birds having tongues. There was just like no birds, and then there was just a few like cockatoos and stuff, and then suddenly everything and its uncle has a giant freaking tongue. So I just remember birds would just chomp down seeds and their stomach would take care of it. But now all these birds have creepy tongues. So I don't know, somehow they now breathe through their tongue. There's like a hole in their tongue and they breathe through it. And that's a picture of it. So, chickens, yes. Okay, and the other thing weird, I'm too lazy to dig it up, but basically, I looked into like birds breathing into their bones to have like more room for their air, but I never saw anything as the following. They're now saying that basically, maybe I should look it up. Birds have to take 2 breaths to process, because instead of like breathing in and then breathing back out like humans, they breathe in one and then the next breath pumps it to another spot near their butt, and then when they breathe out, they're actually breathing out from that spot. So like the air doesn't go in, out, it circulates around and comes out a different tube. So it's more efficient. Birds breathe through butt. So it takes 2 breaths to pump it. I believe it was most or all birds. If I remember correctly, it was all. So here it goes. I was wondering why I was seeing the rhythmic puckering of our hens' rumps. I assumed it was not digestive, but somehow related to breathing. I think I'm right. Chickens and all birds have a respiratory process that's quite unmammalian and not surprisingly related to their high metabolic rate. Their lungs are not like ours, lacking the tiny permeable alveoli where gas exchange takes place. So, yeah, there's a posterior gut region. So basically, they breathe it into their lungs, and then when they breathe out, it's actually coming out through a different tube, not that lung one, because then the next time they breathe in, the air that's in the lungs goes to the next port, which is like this abdominal air sacs thing. And so every time they breathe out, they're breathing air out of the abdominal air sacs. And so it takes 2 inhales to get 1 suck full of air. The first inhale gets it to the lungs, and then you breathe out, but you breathe out what's in the abdominal sacs. And then the next inhale pushes the lung air down to the abdominal sacs, and then a new bunch of air comes into the lungs. And when they breathe out, the abdominal sacs goes out. So 2 breathes in. It's a 2-part kind of a stretch. And so it just goes in this track instead of like reversing direction. Air is moved in and out of a respiratory system. And so now you can, I guess, if you hold the bird too tight, you can suffocate them because they're breathing through their abdominal sacs as well as their lungs. Birds have air sacs that reach into their bones. Bird lungs do not expand or contract like the lungs of animals. Bird breath use a unique airstream system in which air flows one-way route through the respiratory system. The system is unlike our lungs, in which the air backtracks. The system of respiration breathing is very efficient, much more efficient than our system. The lungs are augmented by bellow-like air sacs. These air sacs keep the lungs perpetually inflated, even when the bird is exhaling. Yeah, it makes sense because the lungs never push air out. It's those abdominal sacs that are in charge of pushing air out. So anyway, I just was looking into birds' respiration a couple months ago, and there was nothing on this. So they're kind of saying they breathe through their butts because the air goes into those abdominal sacs, which were located kind of in the hind end. So they're not actually, so far that I know of, actually coming all the way out the butt. walrus, frog, and butt-breathing turnip. What about the walrus? Okay, now I've got to look and see what the walrus is doing with their butt or not. Walruses have air sacs in their head that they can inflate. Okay. Is that all? Okay, so yeah, so, you know, in my old timeline, basically, everything had lungs on that was not underwater, and they would breathe in, and then they would breathe it back out. It was very boring, but apparently in this timeline, all kind of stuff. Bird breathing is new for me. I sit with my little chickens daily. We'll be watching their breathing closely. Soon we'll all be eating with our underside and sitting on our heads if this continues. Yeah, I hope I die before then. I just don't think I can quite make it. They didn't have air sacs. See, now they had hollow bones for me, but they said they were hollow to make the bones light so they could fly. So then a couple years ago, that became an old wives' tale. And they said, oh, they're not actually any lighter, so that's not why they have hollow bones. Then a little past that, they said, oh, birds breathe into their bones. They use their hollow bones for breathing. Okay, so that's why the old one had to go away, because now we have a new story. So now, after that, we've got this whole two-stop air breathing thing, which I think is quite new, because it wasn't that long ago when I covered the hollow bones ones. High Brazil legend of rabbit men mentioned on the island off Ireland that only appears every 7 years and disappears into the mist. Who the heck knows? We might see it the way things are going. In this timeline, every creature breathes from both sides. It's getting like that, I know. Okay, so we got that. Okay, I think I only have one left. This one almost was the thumbnail, which is more gross. This is from Jay Emblin. Good find, Jay Emblin. So she's like, what is this thing? So I got the impression that that this person is in the Texas region, so it was extra weird when these weird creatures, which are called scorpion lobsters, but are actually a type of arachnid. Used to be arachnids were spiders, but now it's like this family that includes non-spider, spidery things. So the definition of spider has gotten really confusing. Now I'm seeing that they're like, oh, well, spiders have to have 6 legs, but these only have 5 legs. But actually, their tentacle or their antennas are modified legs, so that makes them spiders, because the antennas are modified legs. And then another place will say, well, this one has 7 legs, but actually this 7th set of legs is really modified antennas, so it's really is a spider. So this antenna thing is like making them so they can break all the legs rules. They just call them modified legs or modified antennas. Okay, so these things are gross, and they're fairly big. They said like 3 inches. And she doesn't remember him existing, and they're some kind of spidery guy. But even worse, they're fairly common, and they shoot acid from their butt. So you would think it would be this stick thing here, but actually it's over here. So even this, I don't know what the point of this stick thing is, but right here they've got 2 nozzles, and I guess they can swivel them around. So like if you attack from the front, they can swivel it to blast over their head and get you, or they can swivel it to the back or wherever. So they're like total squirt guns. So they so this was interesting because when I looked these up, they're called vinegaroons, vinegarroons. Then one place said they can spray an acid that's 85% vinegar. I'm like, okay, well that doesn't sound too creepy, but what is the other 15%? They didn't say. But then another site said, but the vinegar is 15 times more concentrated than normal vinegar. I'm like, is it even vinegar if it's 15 times more concentrated? So now we're talking pretty acidic. So then they weren't really clear on how much it would hurt. First they're like, oh, well, if you have a cut, it really hurts, or it could irritate your skin. I don't know. So they're calling them scorpion lobsters is one nickname, but they're actually arachnids. All right, let me look these up here. Acid spraying scorpion-like insects. Oh yeah, this is why I wanted it in Texas. Okay, so I ran into this article, if I can find it again. Now this article was weird the way it was written. It's kind of like a classic Mandela style writing. Acid spraying scorpion-like insects spotted in Texas. July 21, 2021. So yesterday, spotted in Texas. So it makes it sound like they were never in Texas before. So if some Texan saw this thing and they go, oh, wow, they're in Texas now. But then when you go and read this, which nobody ever does anymore, it actually says that they've always been in Texas. A vinegaroon, an arachnid, also known as a whip scorpion, even called land lobster, was found in Big Bend National Park around Chizo's Basin Campground. The park shared a photo of the creature. So, woo, they found a creature in the park. One would imagine that the creature doesn't belong in the park, right? These are relatively benign unless you happen to annoy them. Yay, that's nice. These insects are capable of pinching, so they got some hefty pinchers on them, as well as shooting a well-aimed spray composed of 85% acetic acid or vinegar. But like I said, somewhere else they said that was 15 times more concentrated than regular vinegar. Their spray is considered not poisonous to humans. Well, it's not a poison, it's an acid. So, of course, it's not poisonous because acid is not poison. It's a different thing. The species found in Texas is black in color. Okay, so it's not a big whoop if they found one, if these are known to be in Texas. But they act like they're not known to be in Texas. They are nocturnal, have poor eyesight, and are most commonly found in the desert. They hunt other bugs. So yeah, the article, the way they did it, people are going to read like 2 paragraphs and go, oh wow, they're in Texas now. Then they've always been in Texas. So yeah, classic Mandela. Mandela wrote this one, I swear. Sophie Lewis is channeling Mandela if she exists. So yes, good find, J. Emblin. I think that's all I really wanted to say. Fine. You know what? I should look up vinegaroons and see where they all. I think there was a bunch of kinds too. Wiki. Have you ever seen little beasts? Theliphonida. Commonly known as whip scorpions or vinegaroons. They are often called Europigids in the scientific community. Because of their legs, claws, and whip. Okay, so they're not really saying that all whip scorpions can shoot these. Man, this is a really short little thing. They're not saying that they can all shoot the vinegar. So, I don't know. Habitat. Tropical and subtropical areas excluding Europe and Australia. There's some in Africa. So they're pretty much everywhere, including Texas. The giant whip scorpion is found in more arid regions, including Arizona and New Mexico. So I'm thinking that this guy is the one that shoots the vinegar. Goes to 2.4 inches long, excluding the tail. So 3 inches with the icky tail. As pets, the species is sold in the exotic animal trade as pets. But there's hardly any info on it, considering it shoots acid and it's totally creepy. Anyways, that's it. Vinegaroons, good find. So she was a little freaked out just because she'd never heard of these and they're supposed to live by her and they shoot acid. I think we're going to see more of these weird shooting of the things. My cat is attached to me the last 3 days. Anybody else has this problem? Nope. My cat is the same snotty snot. He is, every night, he wants to go out and we're chopped liver. And he gives us this look with big eyes and a pinched in face where he looks at us like we're dirt. And he doesn't want to be touched. And he'll look very put out if we bother him. And then he goes out and does his thing, whatever that may be. And then when he's tired, he comes in, and he's the nicest kitty you have ever seen in your life when he is tired and he wants to come in, and he's loving and sweet, and he has a cute smile on his face. So he's sort of like Jekyll Hyde kitty because he's got his sweet side and his snot side. Now, he's not like scratchy or anything, but man, he's like two different cats. So he's in his snot mode, and he's out right now. And if he sees us when he's outside, he'll pretend he doesn't know us. He doesn't want us touching him. He'll actually be nicer to strangers than he will be to us. Everything breathes or shoot acid from the bottom. And then some things have things living in there. Remember those sea cucumbers? Some have teeth back there now, the sea cucumbers. These are spiders. So they're arachnid family scorpion things. I don't know. Vinegar from spiders. Yep. 85% vinegar. It's all Kim Kardashian's fault. I don't know. You know, there's this weird kind of thing where the subject comes up and then like everything kind of revolves around it. So we have flaming oceans, butts. I don't know. Some people should not have cats. Yeah, you know, I didn't really plan to get a cat, but a cat got me. But he's kind of a wild thing, and he was an outdoor cat before. And if you don't let him out, he will trash your house. He will rip the place to shreds because he knows that you hate that, and he just does it until you let him out. And it's always been that way. So we kind of made a deal that, you know, we'll take care of him, but he goes out because he was out before. I don't think he even got into houses much for years until we got him. But he's slowly gotten more domesticated, I would say, slowly. Insects that shoot condiments, mustard snails, and mayonnaise larks. Yeah, when's the ketchup monster coming? That would be gross, though, because it'll be red. No, I want the cinnamon plants. I'll stick with the cinnamon plants. Dogs are harder to keep. Yes, they are. They require a lot, dogs. You know, they give a lot, but they need a lot back. So I like cats and I like dogs, I must say. pretty good with cats. Basically, just don't touch them if they look pissed. Yes, the cat trained me well, but we made a deal. I feel like with cats, you make a series of agreements. You know, like you don't do this and I won't do that, and you kind of have to come to terms. You know, like you've got your line in the sand. You know, kitty, you're not allowed to scratch my fabrics like my couch or my carpet. In exchange, he demands that he be let out. If we're home, he must be let out if he wants to. And we feed. He gets the good end of the deal, but he basically he wants to be let out, and don't bug him too much when he's out. And then the rule is, if you want to get in, you better abide by the house rules. So he's really funny because when he gets out, it's like he owns the whole outside and he can do whatever he wants, and he'll get really, really mad at you if you try to tell him what to do outside. Like one time we were cutting a branch on an oak tree and it was going to fall, and so I told him, you can't stay there under the tree because this branch is going to fall on you. And he was furious, and he even hissed at me, and I was mad, so I hissed back, and then he was mad at me for like an hour because he wanted, I was telling him what to do outside. He couldn't stand it. He was so mad. He forgave me, and then he was all nice later, and he even saw the log fall in the spot. Did he appreciate that I told him to move first? No, he was still mad because he owns the whole outside. So I can't tell him what to do out there. That's his rule. So yeah, we made agreements with the cat. But when he's in here, he's the sweetest cat ever when he's sleepy. And he'll want his tummy rubbed, and he wants his chin rubbed. But once he's up into like snot mode, do not touch him because you are full of cooties as far as he's concerned. So yes, that's my Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kitty. And I'm pretty much done, so I think you guys are done. I don't see any more Mandelas. It's only 2.5 hours of yapping. It's probably an hour and a half too much of yapping. So I'm gonna close out for tonight. So thanks everybody for your contributions as usual. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.